Well, good morning, everybody joining us online. A special shout out to our friends up in Churchill, and want to thank you for your very generous donation to our Swazi team this last week. That was amazing. And our friends in BC and Ontario and Morden and wherever else you are, and of course everybody here in the room and everybody over at the warehouse and at the fire hall. We got people all over the place, which is really cool that we get to come together and worship and learn together. So if you get our Twar this weekend at Riverwood email, you know that this past week it was jam-packed, including a thank you to everybody for all the hard work and all the investment in time last weekend for our 7 Good Friday and Easter services. And then we went on from there to just a reminder that our Alpha course is coming up this next week. Alpha course is, of course, Alpha means beginning. So if you are beginning to explore the faith, if you're beginning in your faith, or you're beginning in a new season of wanting to solidify your faith, Alpha is for you, and we would love for you to take part in that. We've only got a few more seats. Wednesday night is when it launches, and we just have a few more seats, and we'd love for you to be part of that. Also, this last week, we let you know that our Swazi team left on Friday morning, and so I just got a message. They just landed in Manzini, in Eswatini, and so next weekend, we're going to have a guest speaker, and I'm going to be there doing a special dedication service for the church that we paid for and we sent a team last year to build. And so I have this amazing opportunity next week to dedicate that church with the Bobocause Church folks. And if you want to follow along to everything happening on Instagram and Facebook, we would love for you to do that. Now, chances are, even if you're not into comics or you're not into superheroes, that you know what kryptonite is. Kryptonite is, of course, this material that stopped Superman. Kryptonite was something that came together in 1943, long after, about 5 years or 6 years after Superman was invented, and the folks on this radio show wanted to have a way of stopping Superman, give it a little more attention, and so they created this kryptonite. Kryptonite is the one element that everybody seems to know about, and yet it's completely fictitious. It doesn't even actually exist. Well, fast forward to 2009, and there's a guy named Richard Cumming, and he's laying on a surgical bed in Calgary, Alberta, and he's about to have his second open heart surgery. Now, his first open heart surgery, he said, was brutal, because they have to break the breastbone right in half in order to get at the heart. And so they broke the breastbone, did the surgery, and they put it back together, the breastbone, by sewing it with wire. And he said the healing process was long and tenuous. It was very difficult. Well, what was going to happen this time was something completely different. They're going to break open the breastbone, but then they were going to use something called kryptonite surgical glue. And by the time he woke up, his breastbone was going to be as solid as a rock. It was just going to be solid, put back together, and it was absolutely remarkable. Now, it leads to a question. Why in the world would the researchers and the developers of kryptonite surgical glue call it kryptonite? When kryptonite was what stopped Superman, why would you give it that name? Well, they kind of mused and they said, well, this is so special, and it's kind of almost otherworldly, and it's so effective, it's so powerful at doing what it needs to do, which is to put the bone back together to protect the heart. It has the ability to go inside the body and actually put the bone back together and protect the heart. And as I was thinking about that, I began thinking about our relationship series and about how words are very much kind of like that kryptonite surgical glue. They're powerful. They can be dangerous, but they can be powerful in a great way to go inside of us and mend what is broken and protect the heart. Now, if you are just joining us, I want to let you know that we are in week 25 of a 30-week series. So we handed out these lit Bibles, and this lit Bible and a highlighter, and we gave everybody at Riverwood one. In fact, we've handed out just about 1,900 of them, and so our challenge has been for the last 25 weeks, open your Bible every morning, take your highlighter, and ask God, highlight something from this passage that we're all reading together for my life. So This morning, I did that. We were in Hebrews chapter 4, and I opened the Bible, and I had my highlighter, and sure enough, some things popped off the page for me. Now, if you do not have one of these, I want you to go to the back to the Welcome Center and grab one. They're free. We would love for you to have one and to join along with us in these next few weeks as we wrap up the series. We're starting week 26 on Monday morning. So over the last couple of weeks, we have read from 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, chapter a day, through to Hebrews chapter 4. And as I counted those verses that we covered in the last 2 weeks, 427 verses, 91 of them deal with words. In other words, 20% of everything that we've read in the last 2 weeks is talking about words and the power of words to go inside of us and mend our hearts and protect our hearts. So today what we want to do is we want to ask and examine what makes words so sticky in relationships, and what kind of different words are there in relationships. Now, I want to switch the metaphor up just for a moment. I want you to imagine that there is a power, imagine a relationship you have with another person, and that there are power lines between you and that other person. If there are power lines between you and a sibling, you and somebody at work, you and a spouse, you and a friend, you and a parent or a kid, if there are power lines, then words are the electricity that travel along those power lines. Words travel along the power lines. And what makes words so sticky is, number one, words are the electricity. Words are the electricity running through them. Over the past 2 weeks, we read some verses like 1 Thessalonians chapter 5:11 says this, "Therefore, encourage one another and build each other up." Did you catch that? Words transmit. Down those power lines, words transmit courage. They have the ability to invest in the other person. There's something that transfers from your heart to the other person's heart, even in a short exchange. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 16 says this, "May our Lord Jesus Christ encourage your hearts and strengthen you in every good deed and word." Here we're being told that God's power source flows through us as we communicate to other people, and it goes down the power line of this relationship, energizing the other person. And you need to understand that words are not inconsequential. Words are not docile or sedentary. Words are electric. They carry a power charge to them. They have the ability to change and impact our lives. But even as electricity can be both beneficial, powerfully beneficial, it can also be powerfully destructive. And so we've read some verses over the last few weeks, like 2 Timothy chapter 2, that says this. It says, "Quarreling about words, it is of no value and only ruins those who listen." It says that there are damaging words. There are words that can hurt a relationship. 2 Timothy 2:16 goes on to say this, "Avoid godless chatter." Avoid godless chatter, because those who indulge in it will become more and more ungodly. Their teaching will spread like gangrene. It becomes a disease that spreads down these power lines. Our words don't sit still. They travel down the power line of our relationship, and they will either energize and empower and encourage and build up that other person, or they will de-energize, and they will rob power, and they will discourage and drain and dampen the spirit of the other person. So words are sticky because they're an electric current that travels between our relationship. Secondly, words are sticky because they reach inside of us and they affect our hearts. The Old Testament book of Proverbs has a lot to say about words. Here's some verses. Proverbs 12:18. "The words of the reckless pierce like swords, but the tongue of the wise, they bring healing." See that? The words have the ability to pierce a person like a sword, or they have the ability to bring healing. Reckless words gut a person, and well-chosen words heal and protect the heart. Proverbs 18:8. "The words of a gossip are like choice morsels. They go down to the innermost part." What we're being told here is that words have the ability to get inside of your heart. God is teaching us that words stick because they go inside and they stay there. And if there was ever a verse that kind of paralleled the kryptonite surgical glue of putting the bone back together and protecting the heart, it would be Proverbs 16:24. "Gracious words are a honeycomb, sweet to the soul, and healing the bones. That's the power of words. So words are sticky because they're electric and they travel down the power line of our relationship. Words are sticky because they reach inside and they affect the heart. And thirdly, words are sticky because they shape the relationship. You know, think of any relationship that you have with a parent, with a sibling, with somebody at work, with a spouse, with a fiance, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, anybody. And the quality of that relationship and where that relationship is at is directly proportional to the words that are traveling down the power line and the tone that's being used and the amount of energy that's being used and if they're positive or destructive. 1 Timothy chapter 5 says this. It says, do not rebuke an older man harshly. Don't use your words to demean and rebuke an older man harshly, but exhort him as if he was your father. So why is God telling us this? Why does God talk about this? Well, because words aren't just words. They're not just verbal sounds. There is tone that is carried with words. And along with that, there's either disrespect, devaluing, or there's respect and valuing. There's so much more that comes along with these. Words are an emotional force that either chip away at another person or they actually build the other person up. Now, I can almost hear some of you right now saying, yeah, but I'm not good with words. I don't use many words. I don't really like saying words. I'm more of an introvert. I like quiet. Even in a relationship, I don't say a whole lot. And I get it. I absolutely get it. That's fair enough. But if what I'm teaching is true, if words are an electricity that travel down the power line, if words get inside of us and they affect the heart, if words really do have the power to shape a relationship, then silence in a relationship and fewer words is just as damaging and dangerous as cutting words. Withheld words can create a tremendous vacuum in the relationship. In fact, it's not only harmful words that damage a relationship, it's often the helpful and the good words that are never spoken, that somehow stay inside of you. Silence in a relationship isn't always neutral. It's experienced as a power outage in the relationship when there's silence. Because if there's silence and the power is being turned off, there's no words traveling down that power line, then there is no encouragement. There is no affirmation. There's no gratitude. There's no honesty. There's no apology. There's no, I love you so much. I'm proud of you. There's no, hey, how can I help? There's no, can I explain what I was thinking? There's none of that good stuff that happens. In fact, Psalm 32:3 says this, when I kept silent, my bones wasted away. When I kept silent, my bones wasted away. Now, in context, this is talking about not confessing sin to God. When I did not confess my sin to God, the bones wasted away. But the principle stands. The principle applies. Silence will eat a person alive. Unspoken things have weight that need to come out. Unconfessed, unaddressed, and unexpressed love or encouragement or connection is like turning the power off and the power line going dead. Listen, hiding behind, I'm not good with words, I don't like words, I'm more of an introvert, as an excuse for not learning how to use your words is like turning the power off. It's kind of like relational treason. I mean, it just does the relationship no good. So you actually have to kind of push yourself on those important relationships to actually come out of your shell a little bit and learn to use good words. Maybe it's in writing. Maybe it's not even spoken. Proverbs 27:5 says this, better is open rebuke than hidden love. Better is open rebuke than hidden love. In other words, love that never gets spoken, encouragement that never gets shared, gratitude that never gets expressed, truth that never gets shared with another person doesn't help hold the relationship together. Those things need to be shared. Relationships don't hold themselves together. They need glue, and God has given us so many principles, so many different kinds of glue, and we'll be examining that over the next few weeks. And next week, we're going to wrap up this series. But right now, we want to think about this kryptonite surgical glue. So if our words are this kryptonite surgical glue that get applied on the inside and have the power to heal and protect the heart, and there are these bolts of energy that go down the power line, then what kinds of words should we be using? Does the Bible have anything to say about that? What kind of words make their way inside of a person and actually affect a person? Well, we're going to look at 4 different kinds. There's lots and lots of different kinds of words in the Bible, and even in the passages we read, but we're going to look at just 4, and we're going to actually dig into the ancient Greek words that kind of correspond with these, because we learned something about the English words by studying the Greek words. So the first is this, parakaleo. Parakaleo, encouraging words. Paul writes in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 11, "Therefore, parakaleo one another and build each other up." So what is parakaleo? Well, parakaleo is a compound word. It's made up of 2 different words, paralegal, paramedic, parallel. Para means to come alongside of, and kaleo means to call or to summon. So literally, this word encouragement is to call or summon someone to come alongside of you, to walk alongside of you, and to hearten you. The English word is actually even more powerful. Literally, it says to put courage into the heart. That's what encouragement is, to invest courage into the heart. Remarkable. Some well-chosen words have the ability to come alongside of another person and to put courage into their heart. Now, the reason that God tells us to parakaleo one another is because it doesn't come naturally. It's not automatic in a relationship. You have to intentionalize parakaleo. You have to choose to actually get good at it. Even if you're good at words, you need to choose to get good at parakaleo. So let's ask a ridiculously simple question. How does encouragement work? What are the mechanics of encouragement? I wonder if you've ever thought of this. Well, first of all, I would say this, see it. This is the para part, the coming alongside of part. You have to be close enough in proximity, and you have to be looking, but here's the problem. Most of us are so fixated on looking at ourselves. That's what's natural. That's what happens automatically. We automatically look at ourselves. We're so fixated and we are so overcome by focusing on our own needs, our own wants, our hopes, our own emotions, and our own heart condition that we completely miss seeing the other person. It's almost like we need to take a lesson from Superman and use some X-ray vision, right? Now, of course, there is no real X-ray vision. So there's no X-ray glasses that you can put on to look into another heart. But it's a great metaphor. It's a great way it's a great exercise to say, I'm going to metaphorically put on my X-ray glasses and look into that other person. It slows you down. It takes your eyes off of yourself. And it begins to help you look past the surface and ask, wow, I wonder what's really going on inside that other person. In fact, let's do a little exercise, shall we? I want you to imagine somebody that you have a relationship with. It might be a child, it might be an adult child, maybe their spouse, it might be somebody at work, it might be your spouse, it might be a fiance, anybody that you have a significant relationship with, that you want this relationship to be healthy, okay? And I want you in your mind to name that person. What is their name? I want you to see them. I want you to name them. I want you to have a picture of that person. Okay, now we're going to put on our X-ray glasses. And we're going to stop looking at ourselves and we're going to look at them and look into their heart. And as we look into their heart, let's ask some questions. That person that you're looking at, that you know the name, that you got your X-ray glasses on, are they energized or are they tired? Are they relaxed? Or are they carrying a really heavy load that they're struggling under? Are they confident? Or is there some self-doubt that's happening in their souls? Are they feeling seen? Or are they feeling overlooked and a little bit invisible and neglected? Are they hopeful about what's coming down the road, about what's ahead of them? Or are they worried and they're uptight about what's coming? Are they at peace? Or is there a storm churning in their soul? Are they carrying joy? Or are they carrying something heavy alone? Now, of course, there are no such things as x-ray glasses, and there's a really great shortcut for finding out the answer to those questions. Simply ask them. Just ask. But we don't even do that. We don't even have that conversation. But that's the starting point. Beginning to look into the other person's heart. The starting point of encouragement. Encouragement doesn't start with the mouth. Encouragement starts with the eyes. Do you see what is even going on in that other person's life? Secondly, say it. On Saturday morning, I woke up to a text from Carolyn. She had just landed in Amsterdam. They had flown to Minneapolis and Amsterdam with the team. And she texted me and said, I am exhausted. There was a crying baby on the plane the whole time. This baby cried. And I tried to get some stuff done at the beginning, some emails and stuff, and then I was so wound up. And I think I've slept like 20 minutes since we left, since I got up Friday morning. And now it's 4 a.m. on Saturday morning. And even as I received her text, I knew that I had a number of responses that I could give her, that legitimately. I could say, hey, at least you get to travel halfway around the world and you're in Amsterdam. There's a lot of people that would love to be doing that. Or I could say, I told you, don't do your emails while you're flying and don't work while you're flying. It's just going to get you all wound up. You should try and get some sleep early on. Or I could have said, yeah, that's travel for you. What'd you expect? Or I could have said, the classic sort of interested response, oh, that's tough. But then gone on to something else that I wanted to talk about. Any of those would have said, I hear you, but I don't really want to step into what you're saying. So instead, I texted her and said, shoot, that must feel lousy. You must be exhausted. I'm praying for you that you can sleep on the next flight. Baby, I believe in you. I don't always choose responses like that, but on this occasion, I did. And I got to tell you, I don't expect it to fix anything. I don't expect that little text response solved anything, but it was intended to put a bit of courage back in her heart. That's parakaleo, presence with words that put courage in a person's heart. You need to see it, you need to say it, and then you need to make it specific. You need to actually name out what's going on. You need to come alongside of and engage. Man, that must be really hard. You must be feeling lousy. That's a really tough place to be. I could have texted back, hope you feel better. But instead, what I tried to do was park in her tiredness, to try and feel that for myself and park in that moment and to name it out and specifically add a little bit of courage. You need to reflect the feeling back. You need to take time to actually get into it, name the struggle, pour out some hope. That's how encouragement works. Okay, there's a few more words that we want to look at fairly quickly today. So the first is this glue of parakaleo. That's kind of like a 101 level encouraging words. And then secondly, there's a 201 sterizo. These are strengthening words. Now, 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 16 says this, may our Lord Jesus Christ himself and God our Father, who loved us and by his grace gave us eternal encouragement and good hope, parakaleo, encourage your hearts, and sterizo, strengthen you in every good deed and word. Sterizo. So what is sterizo? Sterizo is a great glue word. It's to set fast, to make firm and stable, to strengthen. Sterizo steadies the wobbling and strengthens the heart. Parakaleo comes alongside and puts courage into the heart. Sterizo comes alongside and attempts to put steel into the soul. It attempts to make it stronger. On Saturday morning, I texted Carolyn, And I said to her, first of all, shoot, that must feel lousy. You must be exhausted. I'm praying for you that you can sleep on the next flight. Baby, I believe in you. And that was the parakaleo part. That was the coming alongside of part. And then I went on and said this, I believe in you so much, and I'm so proud of you. You are such a good pastor, never holding back. You have this amazing mix of command and compassion, and God loves using you to lead people. God called you to this, and He will give you everything you need. That was the sterizo part. That was the putting steel into her soul part. That was the strengthening part. Parakaleo comes alongside of and interacts and engages and acknowledges and puts a bit of courage in. Sterizo comes along and steels up and strengthens. If you could put these words under a microscope, they look for the weak spots. They look for the vulnerable spots. They look for the place that needs some reinforcing and some fortifying, and they fortify the soul. Now, admittedly, the difference between encouraging words and strengthening words is subtle. But it's a subtlety that I think we should learn. In fact, let me give you some, what I think would be a good list of encouraging words. I see how hard you're working. That sounds really tough. I'm with you in this. You're not alone. That must be exhausting. I'm praying for you. You've got this. I care about what's going on and what you're going through. Now, some of you right now, even as you're looking at that list, you've never said any of those words out loud, and you ought to be taking your phone out and taking a picture of that slide and saying, I'm going to make this part of my new repertoire of words, because those are great, encouraging words. But there's another list, and these are strengthening words. This is what I think strengthening words look like. You are stronger than this moment. God has equipped you for this. There is more in you than you realize. You are made for this moment, even though it's hard. God is at work in you. I can see it. I am so proud of you, and I believe in you. Now, those are some great words to use that strengthen people. Here's the problem. Many of us haven't used those words, don't use those words, aren't comfortable using those words, but rather we default to a whole set of negative words. And that's our default. That's what comes out naturally and automatically. Think about it. It is so easy. Discouraging words, demeaning words, critical words, dismissing words, comparing words, shaming words, controlling words, sarcastic words, neglectful words, defeating words, accusing words, minimizing words. All of those words are remarkably sticky to the soul. They get inside as well, but they're like a solvent that dissolves the glue and causes the protection and the bone to come apart. We need to learn to use encouraging words, 101 level encouraging words, 201 level strengthening words. And then we move to a 301 kind of glue, which we read of in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 29. Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouth, but only what is helpful for oikodome. Oikodome. Oikodome means building others up, that it may benefit those who listen. Oikodome, what does this mean? It means a building, an edifice, to edify. An edifice, an architectural structure that is designed as a building. So often our words are wrecking balls, and they're destructive. They're designed to tear the other person down. But here we're told, no, you need to be using edifice words, building up words. I can see leadership growing in you. The impact you are having is making this team better. The way you handled that was masterful. I have such trust in you. Every day, I watch you become more beautiful, stronger, more effective, and I stand in awe. Every time I look at you, I see God at work building something strong. 101 level, parakaleo, encouraging words. 201 level, sterizo, strengthening words. 301 level, oikodome, building words. And the last one is a 401 level, time, honoring words. Romans 12:10, be devoted to one another in love, time, honor one another above yourself. What does time mean? Time means to set a value, to put the accurate price tag on that object or that person, to have the right value, to recognize the true value of that person. Let me explain this with a story. Back in 2023, a couple in their 80s living in France decided that they were going to clean out their attic. And the whole story wound up into a court case. And so now they're before the judge arguing their case. And the man says, yeah, it all started when my wife said, we need to clean that attic and we need to get stuff out of here. So why don't we have a yard sale? And the man said, so I agreed that we'd have a yard sale. So we went to work over a couple of weeks and we cleaned out the attic and we set up some tables on a Saturday and then we had this yard sale. And the wife chimed in and said, yeah, you know, that nice gentleman over there, he came to our yard sale and he offered us $160 for this old dusty mask that we found in our attic. And then the man picked up the story and he says, yeah, I snickered and later said to my wife, I would have sold it for half that. It was junk. We thought we'd really done well for ourselves. He said, and then 6 months later, we opened the newspaper and we discovered that mask has sold for $4.4 million. And so we are here today to say to you that we should get the $4.4 million. Well, now the judge had a case on his hands. And he had to discern and decide what was he going to do. Was he going to give them the $4.4 million? Or was he rather going to deny it? And he said this, he says, this is on you. This is on you. You didn't recognize the true value of what you had. And you treated that mask as something common. You just threw it on a yard sale table as if it was worth $80 or $160. You failed to see the proper value. You did not assess the proper value. In other words, you didn't honor. You didn't set the right value of that mask. You did not honor that mask by recognizing the true value. And because of that, you don't get the $4.4 million. Honoring words say, I see your value. And I put a high price tag on you. You are such a treasure. You are so valuable. I'm not going to treat you as just a throw pillow and something unimportant. No, I'm going to treat you like $4 million. I'm going to guard you. I'm going to protect you. I'm going to protect your heart. I'm going to strengthen you. I am going to honor you. Kryptonite surgical glue applied internally, close to the heart, mending what is broken. That surgical glue in Calgary, it healed that man's bone. It glued it together before they even sewed him up. It made it solid. It protected the heart. It was almost like it was from another world. It was so powerful and so effective. Your words are the same. Your words go inside of a person. Your words have the power to mend what is broken, to protect the innermost, most important part. Words stick. And so my challenge to you this week is to ask yourself, what kind of words am I using right now? What kind of words am I using? Am I using destructive words that are like a wrecking ball designed to tear that other person down and to bring them lower? Or am I using edifying words that are building them up, putting courage in their heart? Or do I have some great words that are stuck inside my own head and I'm not saying them? There's no words traveling down the power line. There's no electricity traveling down the power line of this relationship. Or are there some other words that I could choose? Could I choose some level 101 parakaleo encouraging words? Or maybe I should choose some 201 sterizo strengthening words. Or maybe this occasion, this is more of a 301 okedome, building up, edifying words. Or maybe Maybe I should use some 401 Time honoring words. This next week, you're going to speak 112,000 words. And you need to know that your words stick. So choose them well.